All right, let's start the session. I welcome everybody. My name is Sarah Christina Wist. I'm a researcher at the Research Center Dialogik from Germany, and together with my colleagues Willi and Rainer, we were part of the Live-In project, and together with our co-workers from the University of Economic and Business in Vienna, and more and more partners were involved. So we are really happy that we could share our experiences from our project with you all. We will share a little bit more tomorrow. Tomorrow is another session on inclusive innovation, and the day after tomorrow there's going to be the session about living in a smart future. I would also like to thank Svetlana and Katrin for doing all the technical support in the background. And I want to welcome Lydia Montandon from Atos, also a partner of the Live-In project. And she will share her experiences afterwards with all of you. So let's get started. As you see, we have an agenda, and the welcome is we're in the middle of it. We're doing it right now. So the next part would be an input from my colleague Willi, who is going to talk a little bit, maybe around 15 minutes, about the quality criteria and methods for responsible innovation, about the co-creation toolkit, which we developed based on the experiences in our project. Then I will introduce you to your work task, and then we have a group session, maybe about 30 minutes, where you can try to put responsible innovation into practice. And afterwards, we'll have time for feedback, discussion, questions, and we are looking forward to exchange and engage with you all. So I would say let's don't lose any time and jump right into the input from Willi.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, and a warm welcome also from my side. In my presentation, I'd like to give you an overview of our co-creation toolkit, in which we have compiled principles, requirements, methods for the implementation of responsible research and innovation. Before I say some words about the underlying empirical basis on which we've developed the toolkit, I'll briefly introduce our understanding of responsible research and innovation, or shortly RRI. In our view, the overall objective of RRI is to create innovative products, services, or applications, not only unidirectional from companies to markets, but to enable society to participate in innovation processes. So for us, RRI means to generate innovations for and that's important with society. And that leads to the requirement of engaging societal actors as a constitutive element of every responsible research and innovation. And in general, such involvement can be pursued for two reasons. First, for democratic reasons, to provide citizens opportunities of having a say on needs, products, and innovation agendas. And second, for instrumental reasons, in the sense of both achieving more appropriate results by including societal knowledge, ideas, and capacities, as well as fostering higher awareness of science and technology with citizens. The Live-In project took up this challenge and brought citizens and users together with leading technology companies in order to co-create ideas and solutions for the way we will live in 2030. That was the motto of Live-In, and we did this in, for instance, areas of smart health, social robotics, or Internet of Things applications at home. And we called these citizen-industry collaborations Live-In labs, and we performed 6 of these labs. And each of these 6 labs consisted of a series of at least 3 workshops, which took place in 7 European countries with a total number of about 150 participants. That is lay people representing a diversity in terms of social demographics, inclusiveness, or tech affinity. So our co-creation toolkit can be described as a practice-oriented summary of learnings from these labs and the experiences made by performing the workshops. Let me now highlight some of our insights on what to be aware of when planning to run a co-creation process. So it all starts with developing a clear idea of the goals and expected results of the co-creation process. The key question will help to set the thematic framing for the workshops, to structure the entire process, and to ensure that it's not going to run out of the scope of the company's skills and fields of activities. Next, be clear about the reason you want to involve users. Are you interested in their opinions on, for instance, a new service concept? Do you want to get ideas from them for product innovations? Or are you going to interact with them in a co-creation process? The answer to these questions is directly related to the decision-making competences you will grant to the users. From the outset, users should know what the mandate is, to be lay consultants or to be more or less extensively involved in decision-making. In any case, and this is one of the experiences of the lab leaders from the industry, it's key to explain the value and importance of any contribution of the participants. Last not least, the process of user participation should not begin until both a clear schedule and a thoroughly calculated budget are in place. In terms of success factors of a co-creation process, it's necessary to focus on lay people, since their willingness to cooperate is key. 3 quality criteria in particular come into focus. Seriousness means that all people involved must take the process serious, for example, in terms of participant roles and expected goals. Fairness hints to the requirements that each participant need to have the same chance to have her or his say. The implementation of this criterion is the main task of facilitation, which should be stimulating but neutral. And finally, transparency refers to providing all participants with clear and barrier-free information. What's next when you are clear about objectives and expected results, decision-making scope of users, and key success factors? Then it's time to take decisions when, who to involve when. In doing so, you should be guided by the principle of involving as early as possible to have the chance to learn from each other and to build mutual trust from the very beginning. The most important issue, however, is recruitment and selection of participants. In general, in this respect, there's a broad range of possibilities ranging from a pure random selection to well-defined characteristics in terms of, for instance, age, education, or lifestyle. And as a rule of thumb, you should invite participants that do represent the social groups most likely being affected by the outcomes of the innovation process. You should also think about what benefits are associated with the process for those involved. These can range from intangible incentives, such as new insights or exclusive knowledge, to tangible incentives, such as a small fee or gifts. In this respect, the lab leader's experience shows that payment for a participant is not a key element. Nevertheless, you should at least offer them a reasonable travel costs reimbursement. In addition to the conceptual considerations, you should by no means ignore the practical requirements of the co-creation process. This concerns factors such as the duration of a workshop. You should plan at least 3 to 4 hours for this if you want to conduct more than just an information session. The group should not exceed 12 to 15 participants to allow for a productive discussion atmosphere. However, and this is another learning of the lab leaders, be aware that people can drop out. That means be sure you have selected enough people to continue the workshop if that happens. And the location should be suitable for the co-creation process in terms of atmosphere, space, and accessibility, for example. And data protection is also a very crucial issue. You need always be aware that involving lay people means to collect sensible individual data, for example, personal data, information on opinions, beliefs, and so on. So make sure that you comply with the latest data protection frameworks. For example, within the EU, the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, must be taken into account. And when it comes to create a workshop agenda, of course, there are plenty of options depending on factors such as topic, resources, time frame, number of participants, or expected results. As an example, you can see here a possible workshop agenda, and this is a 4-part structure starting with a warm-up and orientation phases, then passing on to a working phase, and finishing with a concluding session. This is just one opportunity. You can find other helpful examples by searching the literature, and no matter how you design the agenda, avoid time pressure and any stress, and be always prepared to adapt the workshop dynamically to the workshop situation. The success of a co-creation process is highly dependent on choosing the right methods for the desired goals and outcomes. Luckily, there are plenty of methods that promote the key requirement of co-creation, namely creativity and lively idea production. The graphic you can see here gives an overview into the multitude of existing methods that can be used for such a process, assigning to purposes such as collecting ideas, finding solutions, or assessing impacts. This is of course not the place for an extensive discussion of the method's various contents, rules, advantages, or even disadvantages. In our toolkit, you can find both brief descriptions of each of these co-creation methods and links where you can dive deeper into the tool's details. Finally, for a satisfactory conclusion, it's very important that participants' work will not disappear in the drawer. So ensure results lead to something useful. Be focused on taking up a potential idea for further and immediate work out. Keep the participants informed after the workshop. For example, by providing them a few days after the workshop a report consisting of presentations and findings. And even if it's decided that the results are not used right now, the participants should be informed with a proper justification. And also, if applicable, patent rights must be clarified in advance. The message to take home from all this is twofold. Responsible innovation, it can be said, on the one hand, is demanding and takes some getting used to, because involving stakeholders and societal perspectives in R&D goes beyond normal product and service development. On the other hand, co-creation holds great opportunities to directly address citizen and users' needs. It's worth to take up these opportunities for the sake of both industry and society. And this is a point to say, please download our toolkit for free. So you can see here the link, and you can download it for your information and for the further work on this session. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Willy, for giving this overview of the toolkit. And I would highly recommend that for the group work that you will download it. You can find it again, the download link in the chat. Let me now introduce you to the work task. Willy, if you could just click on the slides one more time or twice so that we can go straight to the work task. Thank you. So we will divide you into small working groups, and let me introduce you to the initial situation, and then we have 3 questions we would like you to answer. So imagine you work as a business development director at a global IT service provider, and your company has been dealing for quite some time with the topic of preventive healthcare and fitness. And above all, the one question is driving you, and that is, how can technologies help us to stay fit and healthy? And your company's philosophy was always that you wanted to include users and stakeholders in the development of new products. And now you want to start a responsible innovation process, especially for the younger target group, which is between the age of 18 and 30. So just imagine you are in this situation, and then we would like to answer 3 questions. So the first one is regarding the selection of attendees. Think about, What are the main characteristics of the people you would like to invite to your innovation process? The second question is regarding the process, the invitation process. How would you approach these lay people? Where do you find them? What are ways to approach them? Is it an open invitation? Do you have any specific places where you can go and where you can reach these people? The third question is, what methods would you implement to elicit lay people's ideas and expertise? There you can have a look at the toolkit, or just maybe you have a lot of experience and know some methods which you would like to use. So these are the three questions. You will find the initial situation and the questions. It's always linked into the chat so that you can always have a look at it. If you will find yourself in the working groups in the next moment, please make sure to introduce yourself. Please, can we go back
Yeah.
to the last slide one more time? Thank you. That you introduce yourself, that you, in the best case, also enable your camera. Then we would like you to choose one in your group who will fill out the questions. We will do that via Menti. My colleague Rainer is going to explain to you how this is going to work. Then, one person to fill out the question and one who keeps a little bit track of the time. There are 3 questions, 30 minutes. So yeah, roughly about 10 minutes each question. Well, and then Rainer, please explain how the Menti is going to work.
Yes, thank you. So as you could see, I already posted the links to the Menti in the chat, so you can click on the links, and each question has one link where you can answer your group work and your results after the discussion. What you can also do is fill in the code, which is the most difficult way to do it. You can go to menti.com and fill in the code. But I strongly recommend just using the links in the chat, or you can use the QR code, which is shown on this slide for the first question, if you want to use your mobile phone to answer. And this is the QR code for the first question about the selection of attendees. Don't worry, the question is also written down in the Menti, so you can always find the question you are answering to, and you should discuss. The second QR code, Willy, please, could you, is for the second question. I give you some time to just scan the QR code if you want to use your mobile phone instead of the browser. And the third code, I hope we are not too soon, but otherwise, just look in the chat. There is also a direct link to the Menti. So this is the third link to the question. And I wish you a real interesting and fruitful discussion. And I'm really looking forward to look at your results from the group work, and also to compare it with what Lydia did and Atos did with the living labs and their really interesting experience. We would talk about after the group work, when we took a look at your results and also compare it to what Atos did with some really interesting experiences. So we wish you an interesting discussion, have fun in the small groups, and we will send you to the groups soon, I guess.
Yeah, have fun.
I think now we are complete. So
yeah.
I heard you really had an open discussion, and you really discussed it in your groups, and there was fruitful and really active groups, 2 groups. And I want to show what you worked together on the Menti results, and we also have the room and space to discuss it together, and you can also add something to your Menti answers. Just let us start with question 1, the selection of the attendees. And what we saw and what Sarah told from your discussion into the groups when she visited your groups is that it was a really deep question for you to select the attendees. And we have two answers, and I just want to show you the answers from your groups. So who are the attendees? In-house, Chief Technology Officer and operational people, external, users of technologies, 18 to 30 years, vendors, representatives from standard setting organization, sport practitioners, and other health-related practitioners, doctors, influencers. So a lot of groups, and we have a second answer. The target group was from 18 till 30. It's tech-savvy generation with healthcare issues, people interested in smart health, fitness product development companies, nutritionists, hard word, students, fitness instructors, and sport medicine specialists. So I want to address your group. How deep was the conversation about this topic about attendees? So maybe one of your group wants to tell us how your discussion was and what are the reasons you selected such a specific group. I think it's really specific. We have really clear labels for people. So maybe one of your group want to tell us how your discussion worked.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me, Rainier?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you. That's great.
Oh, sorry. Okay, this is me. Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Well, thanks for the opportunity. We are part of the previous answer. It took quite a long time to determine, mostly, I would say, because we were knowing each other. It's one of the participants. We were 4 and 2 of them quite active. And we spent like more than 10, 15 minutes on the first answer. And we get to the point to know that we, due to being part of a tech company, we will have to develop the solution. So we will have to take into consideration the tech guys on our company, and we selected the CTO and whoever he or she decides to run it with. And obviously it was quite important in our discussion, getting to the point of attending the target marketed people, for them to give us their insights and to know how to proceed to develop the tool as users, and obviously some people that can communicate with them properly. And we thought, obviously, in order to get credibility, contacting with associations and professionals, such as doctors. And secondly, we thought that reaching out to influencers will be helpful to us. You know, during the pandemic, we also gave a couple of examples of people that, you know, here in Europe, at least in Spain, were quite known as nutritionists and health professional practitioners, where we get fit thanks to that kind of people. And nowadays they are proficient with their own solutions.
Thanks, Miguel. Really impressing, because you've thought about all the groups, from stakeholders to influencers and multipliers, and also including the knowledge. So that's really impressive. And I want to ask Lydia, because you did all the labs. Was it hard for Athos to think about who are the attendees in our sessions?
Yes, hello, can you hear me well?
Yes.
So exactly, we were thinking of prevention. So in the principle, our main target was, of course, to have young people, although they may not think at all about preventing any diseases because they are young. It's not the target, actually. It's more elderly people that want to prevent. But let's think anticipating. And so we even thought about inviting younger people, the younger than 18. Of course, we were then limited in experience. We were limited. We actually invited younger people. We had somebody from 16 years old, but it was not possible due to regulations and for the sake of the consent and the whole, let's say, setting of the experiment. It was not possible. But of course, we thought about all the other experts, the nutritionists, the sport experts, the health professionals. Actually, in the company, we had some people with both roles. So it was very good to have like a medical doctor that is working in IT. And we have, so in one person, we have the two roles, or we had a young person who, the nurse. So she also had both sides. And yes, that's a little bit, and also the salespeople are, we are wanted to have experts like developers, but also salespeople from the organization. So we have in this way covered, and with the additional, the influencers, probably we have not thought about it, but that would have been a great addition as well.
Yes, so now if we will start living again, we will think about multipliers too. So, but it's really interesting, and we'll see your results on Friday. So it really worked, and I think it's really interesting. It's not easy to think about attendees and which kind of knowledge, but not only knowledge, as we saw in the answer of the group. It's not only about knowledge, it's about how to disseminate all the results and how to have a good group of people at a level. So it's really interesting. And I want to take the chance to ask the other group, how was your experience discussing about the attendees? So maybe someone of your group wants to tell us.
Silvia or Mayan, would you like to talk? I think Eva, that was you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's me, because I am asking my colleagues if they want to. Mayan maybe would like to present how we discussed.
Hi, I'm Mayan.
Thank you, Mayan.
Hi. Well, we had a very long discussion on question 1. It took a very long time to get to some understanding of what, our interpretation of the question. For example, people were talking about segmenting the 18 to 30-year group into different ages. Well, from my perspective, I didn't understand what the innovation process is. So, if we understood that, maybe we could then target the characteristics to a particular requirement. So yeah, we were just struggling to come up with some of those characteristics. I don't know if anybody else in my group wants to say something. I think it was Eva who had a,
Well, sorry, my camera doesn't seem to be working today, so you don't see me. But well, we had a lot of discussion because we didn't agree at all among us. So I was more in favor of variety. So I thought the best approach was having a high variety of people represented in the group. So having people living in the country and people living in the city, and having those who make sports and those who don't, and those who are studying and those who are already working, and those who come from a wealthy have a wealthy position, and those who are from another origin. I mean, I thought variety was the approach, but my colleagues, I think they were more thinking, and I may be wrong, but I think they were more thinking about a technology which was already developed, and about introducing that technology and what kind of people should be in the room. So it was like different approaches. So it took a while until we decided what to answer.
Thank you both for telling us what the topics of your discussion were. And I think it's a really interesting question we also had on Livin, thinking about what could be the innovation be. And if you start an open process, you really need some mind power to define what could be the result. And if you want to test innovation, it's really easy. If you have a new kind of watch or something like this, just do a focus group. But that's not what happened in Livin, and that's the difficult part before you start the process. What was your experience, Lydia? So it was open at Athos 2 in the lab, so you had an idea, but how did you start thinking about attendees and the result? You are muted now, Lydia, sorry.
We also need to have a very practical view, because in the end, all this takes time, and you need also to think of who you may reach. I mean, of course, for example, we also reached health policy or people in the ministry or people in in a position that can take policy making decisions. But then you also have to be somehow realistic, have those people the time to come and to dedicate, because you want to have quite time for a long discussion, have everybody said, we are in favor of this diversity, but then you have to give the time to all participants to engage and for everybody to listen to everybody, and all this takes time. And many of the profiles, and including the students, they don't have this time. So in the end, this is one of the issue. And the other issue is even if you think about people, you may not have the right channels to reach them. So students, yes, you can go through school and university, and this is how we managed with many students. But then we went through friends and family. I invited all my colleagues to invite their children or the people they know of this age or of this profile. And even internally, you invite a salesperson, but in the end, during the workshop, he said, oh, I have to go to the client. So this is more important. So in the end, this is how you manage. But I also agree, and in our mind, it was diversity that was the principal aspect.
Thank you, Lydia. It's really interesting, and I share the experience we made in the other labs too. That it's yes, that it's hard to reach the people from zero. So you also connected to your networks, and we used networks to involve families. For example, our partner at the DMU did via WhatsApp group chats. So that's really interesting how to reach the people. It's an interesting question. And I saw we have a question in the chat. How many people would you suggest to reach to participate? So maybe we can connect to this question. How many people did you involve, Lydia? And how many people did you inform in the beginning and try to recruit, and how many people took part in the workshops?
Yeah, I think in the end you have like you try to recruit for 12 people, and you have to at least contact 20, and 20 of those that you think you have a kind of crisp on them, that you can convince them, or they owe you something and they will come anyway. So really, so in principle, well, we had dropouts at the last minute. That also happens. So 2, 3 at least dropped out at the last minute. So this, you cannot do anything a bit, because you don't want to have 20 people in a room either, because it will be too much. So you have to play with those numbers. But yeah, even I would say you need to contact more than 20 to end up with a group of 12, let's say. Yes,
and doing social science since years, just contacting 20 and getting 10 is a really good number of attendees. So you did something right, I think, in addressing the people. So I want to share with you the second question. Both of your groups worked on this, and just show the answers to you and read it down. Invitation letter in-house. So this is how to reach the company in-house. How it would help us become a better company. External, identifying reasons of why they should be part of the product development process and publicizing their involvement. The second answer from the other group is participant information leaflet explaining the product development process. Request their consent for participation, which is really important, and social media channels, partners, networks, existing alliances and participation stakeholder companies. So what we see is you also thought about the multiplier and dissemination effect on the second question. Maybe someone from the group, from both groups, keep it really open, want to add something or share your discussion about this question on how to reach and the invitation process with us. What did you discuss?
I will start, Miguel, from the, I don't know which group, one of the group, the first answer.
We didn't count the group.
Yeah. So we spent quite a bit of time in the first, as Miguel already said, in the first question. So the second question was, we knew that there is less time, so we're hurrying through. But first was, for us, multi-stakeholder workshops, having different kind of people, we need to pitch why we want the interview so that they feel that spending their time is worthwhile. So basically the invitation letter should be explaining about the background of the project, explain why we are seeking the participation and what they can get out of it also in the process. Otherwise people would not be very interested, as well as later publicizing what work has gone on and being in touch with them through the process. So that's what we discussed in this and of course with stakeholders, it will be like, whom do we send the invitation letters? For example, there will be, we have in Europe, we have the, the various universities will have this youth climate action networks, and you will have the Young Men's Christian Association and Young Women's Christian Associations who have large networks of people who are there. So we can ask these organizations and get them on board to reach out to the relevant stakeholders. And of course, the other, the ministries, as Lydia had said, the health ministries and stuff, and then the academics and the industries involved. Like one other second group people have mentioned about reaching out to their own alliances and network also within the industries. And that's it. So Miguel, if you want to add something more to.
No, nothing. I think you nailed it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Indrani. I think it's really interesting what you said, talking about the benefits for the participants. Yeah. So this is a really interesting point. We discussed a lot in the project too, because you need to tell the people not why they should participate. You should tell them why it's good for them to participate and what they get out of the process. Yeah. It could be knowledge, but it could be something else. So really interesting. Thank you. And I also wanted to ask the other group if there's something to add. If not, I will ask Lydia.
There is one little issue which always
Thank you, Eva.
Hi, and which came up, which is the issue of compensation, which is always tricky. Do we have to compensate people for their time? Yes or no, and how?
It's an interesting question. Thank you, Eva, because yeah, you can compensate on different ways. And I want to ask Lydia, what did you tell the people why they should participate?
Okay, so
what were the incentives? So we have in the chat ideas contest, for example. What did you do at Atos?
So all of your tricks we used. So all the channels, of course, you target different people. So we also had to take people on the phone. So the letter, of course, is helpful because you have the text, but you have to have very short and attractive messages, probably images. We used even Instagram. So I installed Instagram on my phone. I didn't have it. Yes, compose what we call the love letter, because this is where we attract people, and then you have to repeat the message and you have to send it out again. And at a certain point, it's true, we were discussing with my colleagues, oh, we are getting closer and we don't have so many registrations. Should we add some kind of compensation? We discussed it among ourselves. Somebody was against, somebody was in the end, we wanted to avoid it as much as possible. We, of course, had some things after, like a present, something like even tangible, but or additional to the knowledge and what we can offer as a a little snack or something. But our intention was more not to have this, let's say, like sometimes we call it a bias, because you are paid to provide your input. So, but yeah, that's a very complicated part, I must say. And when, yeah, we will come back to this.
Yeah, thank you. I like the term, instead of invitation letter, to call it a love letter, and showing all your love that they participate. So it's really nice term for intern use. You shouldn't have it on the letter.
Maybe I can add something, because we're doing a lot of citizen participation as well. And there's also the question always arises, okay, shall we pay them something? And I just want to keep in mind that the answer is open, because it depends on the process and everything. Sometimes a nice lunch is enough, but if they have travel expenses, at least pay them. But so one thing I'm always thinking about, it depends also on the target group. For example, if you are really interested in, let's say, moms, you have to give them some money so they can afford, for example, a babysitter or something, or you provide the babysitter for them for the 2 hours. And the thing is, when you are a company, I think you should always remind yourself, you want to know something from them. And that should be worth something. So that's just my 2 cents on this discussion. Yeah.
Let me confirm that we paid, of course, for all the travel arrangements. We asked, and if they didn't need it, of course, that was not a problem. But we paid for trips and everything like that.
Yeah, it was. I know you did. So yeah, it was more in a broader sense. Yeah.
So we also have, hi, this is Eva. We also have some examples in living. I think the activities by DMU, they gave some kind of voucher to the families, some small present, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Thank you, Eva. And I think it's also they gave all the materials to work with. So it was a lot of color pens and so on. Beside the voucher, so the families really could work with it, and it was more than a playing. We would see it tomorrow in the involvement session, including how to reach people, and I think it's really interesting too. So Indrani also wrote something, some of her experience in the chat with projects and paying fees. Is it right, Indrani?
Sorry. What my experience and this was a very was that if there, of course, we take a lot of time from volunteers in this RRI projects and engage projects and public engagement and stuff. But what I have seen is these expenses cannot be got from the H2020 projects. So that's what I was curious to know, how they come under ineligible expenses if we are costs if we are paying from the project, unless we are paying from our own pockets to these. I would like to hear your experience. I heard a bit that you got vouchers and stuff. So was it to the project claimed, or it was within your own institutions?
I really can't answer. I can't answer for the DMU about the voucher. Lydia, you can answer, of course, but for the other projects, I can't say, because the DMU is a university, so it's something different than Atos. But I don't know at the moment. Lydia, how did you?
Yeah, for us, I mean, of course, it would have been a problem. Of course, it's also related to the internal way in which the company works. So one thing is the H2020, but anyway, what we did, we would have always do. I mean, the process is you don't pay additional people. You offer, like you say, you pay for a voucher. So that's something that is like a gift, or you buy some gifts, physical gifts, or you pay for the travel. So you always have a reimbursement in this way.
Yes, that's a challenging question, especially in funding rules. How to yeah, it's not easy just paying people for being part of a project. So a really interesting question. We have another question in chat before we just switch to the last question where we don't need so much time. From Mayan directly to Lydia. How did the social restrictions to the pandemic impact the interaction with the participants? So,
okay, so
thanks, Mayan,
let's come to this. Actually, I was thinking about it because when we are talking about paying people, okay, this is more relevant when they have to come to your meeting place and they have to travel and they have to spend a lot of time. So then, as soon as we had the pandemic, we shifted to online workshops. So there it's a little bit different because it's easier to get the participation. It's also easier to have the dropouts final last minute. And it's also more difficult to really reimburse or to even provide the gifts at the end, because part of the gift is, you thank the people, you give a smile, you just give your hand or something. Of course, at the end of the online sessions, I took the address of everybody. So that was already something like more against the, I had I mean, we have the GDPR rules and so on. So, but okay, a part of those, I had to get their address and I sent the gifts to them. And during the pandemic, I had to do this from home. So I probably paid myself for for this part, which is, I mean, it's nothing. So it's this is the way we manage with online workshops.
Yeah, thank you. And what we learned in Livin is it works doing it online. So the pandemic hit us in the middle of the labs, and at least it worked out. So we couldn't say if it's better or worse, but at least it worked. So that's totally fine. And I think this brings us to the last question, because if you want something to work, especially engagement and participation, you need the right methods. So I think I just show your answers from the group, so we have not so much time left. So you thought about brainstorming and future mapping connected to your questions, and the other group thought about survey and focus groups and hackathon, running a hackathon through sports centers and events. So really reaching out. And at least you had the experience, Lydia, from both doing it face-to-face and doing it online. Which methods did you use? And was there a big range comparing online and offline? And
yeah, of course, we started offline, and we had more time. We had walls and many possibilities, so to play and to have also icebreakers and so on. So, of course, anything that puts the participants in a smooth way and engaging and networking and so on. But in any case, our scope was more or less based on design thinking approach with some divergent phases, convergent phases, brainstorming, prioritizing, and so on. So we adapted, let's say, the offline workshop to the online, using those methodologies and adapting with, I mean, keeping in mind our objective, which is to have engagement and also fun for the participants.
Yeah, thank you. Fun is also important. We working a lot with methods and participation, always think about the goal and what's the right method. But I think it's a really interesting experience from Livin that you also need fun, because when we think about the other questions, how to recruit the people and how to keep them in touch with the process, fun is one part. Shouldn't be too funny, but fun is one part. Thanks a lot. So someone wants to add something about the methods. I saw Mayan made the
I just wanted to ask Lydia, have you used a specific methodology like a design thinking approach, or what did you use some other approach?
Yeah, mainly, I mean, we can say that globally we use the design thinking approach, going through all the steps, but in between we have several techniques that apply. I mean, there are or invented, or sometimes you need to be a bit flexible and adapt to what participants can do. For example, in one, you will see maybe tomorrow, but in one of the workshops we had a blind person, so we need even to have some techniques that are available or accessible to everybody. So it's basically this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no further questions, I'll give you some seconds if you want to ask another question. Otherwise, we have some final questions. We have a little poll talking about quality of engagement. Now we had a workshop, but we have a little poll about, yeah, how was the workshop for you? So my colleague Svetlana will show you a poll. I hope everybody sees the poll in Zoom and can answer. Do you see the poll and can
Yes,
answer?
and there are already answers coming in.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Maybe you can help me, Sarah, because I can't see it. I don't know why.
No, I think it's fine. I think everyone participated. Yeah, but I'm not quite sure how we can broadcast this to you. And Svetlana, you wanted to share it, but
yes, I would give just 30 seconds more and then I would share
all right.
it.
Yeah, cool. But I can spoil a little bit, and you all found it. Yeah, you are absolutely positive towards responsible research and innovation, and good for us. The session for you was very interesting or interesting. So we have no one who said no, it was not interesting. I think they left already, so that's the case. And we're pretty much, yeah, we have pretty much from everyone, from policy, academia, and business, there are participants. So that's quite nice. Yeah, there's not one which is, we are not only academians here. So that's cool. Yeah.
So maybe before we close the session and say bye, because it's really interesting, Miguel asked one question for Lydia. We can finish. What about the results? As expected, do you present it on Friday? So we have a little spoiler.
Yes, I will present a little bit on Friday, but no, we had, of course, a lot of, yes, a lot of ideas. And what we did is that we brought these ideas to internal workshop within Atos to go the step further, to analyze the business model, the business plan. So what could we do with the ideas, if this is feasible, if this is desirable for the company? And so we designed even a business plan and a blueprint. This was actually also like a deliverable for the project. And so for us, it's successful. Of course, we are not selling tomorrow in the market, but most of all, the results that we wanted to have, does it work? Do we want to continue with this kind of methodology? Is it, and I think that yes, what is I appreciate is that the company more and more is looking to outside inputs, and they don't want to just develop all their projects alone. They really need the input from the outside, and they are really increasingly taking care of this. So an experience like this is really helpful to the company.
Thank you, Lydia.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And so maybe we have a little bit of cultural change inside the company.
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you very much. And for the famous last words, I will give back to Sarah.
Yeah, there was another question from Indrani if the recording of the session will be yeah, it will as well after the Responsible Innovation Summit. Thank you, Katrin, for answering the question so quickly. And thank you, everybody, for your participation. I think it was a fruitful discussion, and it was nice that we could really get in touch with you. And thank you all yeah, for your insights. Lydia, thank you very much. And yeah, the last words are have a great afternoon and hopefully see you tomorrow for our next sessions. Bye.
Thank you.